This podcast episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Have you ever rearranged your furniture and discovered the carpet underneath looks brand new while the rest of it looks, well, not so new? It's time for a carpet upgrade. At the Home Depot, we have stylish choices at simple prices from all the top brands. Best of all, we can install it for you, starting at only 49 cents per square foot. So all you have to do is pick your perfect floor. Start your carpet project today at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Exclusions apply. For licenses, see homedepot.com/license numbers.
Where is Daredevil? I'm right here.
Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated.
We're gonna take this city back.
Over medicated.
In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
Welcome to Academia Unlocked, a special series from BookTok for BookTok with Jack and Amy, where we take one classic work and explore it through 4 episodes, moving from understanding the text to deep analysis to cultural interpretation, and finally to what it means to you, our listeners. This is Jack.
And I'm Amy, and between us, we have over 13 years of academic literary training, including bachelor's degrees in creative writing, as well as master's degrees. Jack specifically has the comparative literature master's,
Which we will be using today.
Yes, we will. We built this series because we wanted to bring depth into a space that actually feels like a conversation.
Each book gets 4 episodes and they build on each other. We start with literary literacy, reading the work the way you would in high school AP class, Close and Careful. Episode 2 is our advanced analysis, where we shift into a college-level seminar lens. Episode 3, which is today, we look at the book in media, adaptations, cultural legacy, how it translates beyond the page. And episode 4, we open it up entirely to your interpretations, your readings, your relationship with the text. Today, I can tell there's a lot of feelings happening, and I just want to say, no matter where we go in today's episode, whether one of us cries or not.
Why are you setting up like this? You're setting me up for failure.
I mean, let's be real. The one who cries on this podcast is more me than you. But we have a fairy loot to unbox at the very end.
Oh, yay.
So, I'm just trying to say small glimpses of it's okay.
Yeah.
We will get through this because it's some beautiful movie we're about to talk about.
All right. So, The Color Purple. Now, as we've talked about the last 2 weeks, when you read the book, The Color Purple begins in Celie's handwriting, so to speak, in her literally writing it to herself or to God in a journal or letters. Now, those are private, they're small, they're addressed to God because she's told there's no one else she's allowed to tell. And the intimacy of the novel lives in the fact that these are letters to God. You're reading something that was never supposed to be read. And then Steven Spielberg, famous director, you might have heard of him, decided to put it on camera. In 1985, 3 years after the Pulitzer, Spielberg, one of Hollywood's most celebrated directors, made the book into a film. It had a John Williams score, it had a Greenfield aesthetic, it had Whoopi Goldberg, Oprah Winfrey, and Danny Glover. It had 11 Academy Award nominations, 0 wins.
Yeah, I can't believe no one won for that.
Oh, racism.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you're right. I do believe it. In 2005, it became a Broadway musical, and then in 2023, that musical became a film. So we have 1 novel, 2 films, 1 musical, although the film is a musical, but let's get loosey-goosey with it. And 1 question underneath it all. What happens to Celie's voice when it has to be heard instead of read? When the private letter becomes the public stage? When the interior monologue becomes a spotlit aria? Today, we treat the novel, the 1985 film, and the musical as 3 separate texts, each making different formal and political arguments about the same story. We look at what each preserves and what it loses, and what it accidentally reveals about the moment it was made. In full transparency, Amy and I watched both of these back to back. And that was an interesting back-to-back feature to do.
We're both like on the verge of our period or just started our period, and it was an emotionally hard week. And yeah, we made choices.
And you know what? We made choices, and nothing got me through it more than that McDonald's Diet Coke. Like that thing and Chipotle,
seriously.
that kept me going.
Yep. Now, before we compare scenes, we need vocabulary. The term of the day is adaptation criticism. It is its own field, and its central argument changes how you watch every film you've ever seen based on a book. When people say the book was better than film, they're talking adaptation criticism, whether they know it or not. Now, how is adaptation theory defined? It's the scholarly study of how stories change between media. The quote-unquote founding insight or the foundation of this is that an adaptation is not a translation. Translation is a literal from A to B. Instead, an adaptation is a new work in conversation with its source, which is so relevant for today. The question is not how faithful is X to Y. The real question is, what does the medium make possible that the original couldn't? And what does it make impossible? And what does the gap reveal? So that's how we're going to discuss The Color Purple today.
The scholar Linda Hutchin, please don't think we automatically knew who Linda was. Some research went into this, but she calls this the double awareness of adaptation, the pleasure of seeing what's the same and different simultaneously. You're always watching 2 things, the work in front of you and what came before it, aka the text. For The Color Purple, this double awareness is especially charged because the novel's central format argument is that Seeley's private written voice is the foundation of this book and the site of her humanity. Every adaptation has to decide what to do with that voice when you can no longer make it the primary vehicle of information. It's hard. It's very hard.
It's so hard, and I have opinions.
And that's because it really has to do with the core tension of the story. The novel is built on interiority. We live inside Seeley's consciousness entirely. There is no outside view. Any recap is still very much within her consciousness. The film is inherently exterior. There's no other way to really do that. A camera shows us a body in space. This is automatically exterior. It can suggest interiority through voiceover or close-ups, but it cannot replicate living inside someone's head through written thought. Now, musical theater is actually closer to the novel than the film if you think about it, because both forms allow a character to speak directly to the audience from their inner life. The musical Seeley can sing her private thoughts to us. The film Seeley has to perform it visually, which honestly, through researching this, I had never thought of that, of like the fact that musicals really can give you that interiority, that inner dialogue, the way that a movie can't.
It can. They do it to different degrees, I would say.
But not speaking directly to the audience. I mean, unless it's like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right? And it's like...
Sure, and you're breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things here is the comparative lens. If you're like, hey, what's comparative literature? We did an episode on it, and the way that I like to describe it is that it's Fight Club. No one knows. It's a weird thing.
No one talks about it.
Yeah, but we have to ask ourselves, what does this medium do that the others cannot? So for film, it has to do with visual space and time. Theater, it has the liveliness and the collective presence of the audience and the whole cast. And the novel has unrestricted interiority. Each version is making the best argument it can in its own language. What was your gut reaction going from novel to the film specifically? Was there a moment where you think it worked, or where was there something that felt missing immediately?
So let's start with what worked. One of the things I feel the musical did was when Seeley was reading letters from Nettie about Africa, she visualized animals, people from Africa in her fields in front of her.
Yeah.
And so some of the like mental space is played out in reality in front of you. And I liked the melding of the two in both film and musical. I thought it was a good way to experience Nettie's writing through Seeley's mind. I think that was the closest either ever got to really replicating the book, like the feeling of the book at least, for both film and musical, but even more so for the musical. I felt like it made it about other people and not Seeley. Seeley was 25% of the story.
Yeah.
Maybe like maximum 40% of the story. The story was not entirely hers. You had to see the parallel of Shug and her father. You had to see the growth on the side of Mister. By doing that, you lose so much of the emotion Seeley attaches to the events. Like you said, when we were talking yesterday, the shifts in Seeley are so hard to detect, if at all.
Yeah.
And in fact, it doesn't feel as gradual as it does in the book because we don't have that interiority.
What Whoopi Goldberg did, what the musical film adaptation did very well is capture Seeley as an adult. Like the first time we see her as an adult, still very young. Like she's still mentally very young. She was abused so young. She was thrusted into being a step parent so young. There's still this like youthfulness to her that it made her still feel like a child to me. And that made me sad. And I thought that was great. Beyond that, all of a sudden she goes into screaming at Mr. Seeley and then it just kind of ends. You know, like all of a sudden she doesn't have this like resolved weird peace between her and Mr., which is funny because every single time, like when I think about the book, I'm like, and I think about the scene of the two of them on the porch, I'm like, what a beautiful scene. And then I see the actual depiction of this grown-ass man like assaulting a 14-year-old. I'm like, you know what? I think we can make him suffer. I think we deviate.
Yeah.
But one of the big things that I was sad to have lost are Seeley's letter to God. And then how it transitions to her letters to Nettie, because that's where we get her growth, right? We get her growth through her saying God is just this like white man in the sky who doesn't take care of me the way that no one has ever taken care of me. And then it turns into this question of, well, what is God? Is God nature? Is God man, woman? And then it turns into her writing to Nettie, right? And that is so important to Seeley's growth. That's how we see her grow. That's how I believe it challenges the reader to grow, to question not just question God, but question our relationship to power and spirituality. And that's completely gone from the adaptations, which is sad because that is her growth that we see so clearly in the books.
Another thing that I feel like was really lost was the nuance and importance in terms of symbolism of Nettie's letters from Africa and the story that's happening in real time in Nettie's letters.
Yeah.
And how it reflects the Black experience in the South of the United States at that time period. Nettie's letters from Africa on the screen and in the musical are just something to get through. At least that's how it felt like to me. It was just a brief moment to explain where she's been.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a commentary from a different lens.
Yeah.
On what it means to be enslaved and colonized and have your humanity taken from you. I was really disappointed with how that was handled. I think that they would have been better off not including it at all because it just did such poor justice to what was really important about that.
Such a good point. And then before we keep going, one last one I'll throw in is I felt like whiteness had to be inserted into it. And that really bugged me. Where I saw that most was with Millie, who is the mayor's wife. And, you know, yes, I'm not saying they depicted her as a good person. I think they showed her to be, you know, just as horrible as we'd imagine her to be. But in the book, you didn't need to spend time on her. And it wasn't about that. The book just has the, like, white people are, it's this constant threat. Like, you don't have to say it. It just is. You know, this is part of the very unfortunate reality. And it ended up being about so much more than white people. It was about the Black experience in Jim Crow in the South, right? And it really bugged me that the film felt like it had to insert itself. And that goes into some of like the next point, which is talking about the fact of that it's a Steven Spielberg film. Commercial break, but make it literary. Struggling to find the right metabolic wellness support, even when you're doing everything right, has been one of the most frustrating things for me in my health journey.
I've tried other metabolic wellness support providers, and I often feel rejected rather than supported by the process.
That's because Brello is focused on long-term health, longevity, and performance, not quick fixes.
Brello is designed for people who want a more sustainable approach to their metabolic wellness support. Their support helps you focus on habits, education, and structure alongside provider oversight.
Getting my GLP-1 through Brello has been so easy. They make it so effortless, and they provide all the support I need through their app.
Their app is one of a kind in my book because it allows you to track progress, manage reminders, and stay on top of renewals. And if you're like me, managing the renewals is the hardest part.
Everything is managed online, making it easier to stay consistent over time, and medications are delivered to your door. They're so transparent with their pricing with one flat monthly cost. Go to BrelloHealth.com to see if you qualify and explore their GLP-1 plans, starting at $133 per month for your first 3 months, plus access to their app, community, and wellness classes. That's BRELLO health.com.
Any information provided is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical consultation, diagnosis, or treatment. All patients must consult with a healthcare provider prior to the prescription or dispensing of any medication, which will be done only pursuant to a valid prescription. Compounded drug products are not FDA approved, and the FDA does not evaluate their safety, effectiveness, or quality. Patients are encouraged to discuss the risks, benefits, and appropriateness of any medications, including compounded products, with their healthcare provider before use.
Two things. It did not need to, like, what is a man doing here? And what is a white man doing here? Yes, Steven Spielberg is genius and fantastic. It was 1985. He had just finished E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark. And at this point, he is the most commercially successful director in Hollywood. He is also a white Jewish man making a film about the interior life of a black woman in Jim Crow South with John Williams' score. And it's just kind of like, okay, so what are we doing here? What's going on? Like, was this a beautiful film? Yeah. Was the score incredible? Absolutely. Were these the right people to give this story? I can guarantee you no.
Right.
Even though Alice Walker co-wrote the screenplay and was at the time supportive of this film, she has since had a more complicated relationship with it, and many Black critics and scholars have serious reservations about what Steven Spielberg's lens to the story did to Walker's text. And that's what we're about to get into. So what the film does, Whoopi Goldberg's Celie is physically and emotionally restrained. She captures the novel's equality and emotionally constrained. One of the hardest scenes was the very first scene where her and Nettie are playing in the field and she comes running out and she's pregnant. And, you know, mentally I can imagine a pregnant child, but then seeing a pregnant child on screen was very intense and hard. So I was like, wow, you know, hey, the film is not afraid to show that right off the bat, right?
And to clarify, it wasn't Whoopi Goldberg playing a child.
Yeah,
it was an actual
child that they casted for that.
Or someone who looks like a child.
Yeah, it was like, oh, baby girl, you were supposed to be 14 and pregnant, and this is so sad.
But to your point, when Whoopi Goldberg does come onto the screen, she emulates that child so well.
Yeah, I've been kind of caught on that. We're going to deviate a little bit from what we're here, but I kind of been stuck on this, like, was that the right representation to give Celie? Because on one hand, I can see, wow, like when I was watching Whoopi Goldberg and her depiction of Celie and the fact that there was like this youthful, very childish nature to her, it did make me go, wow, she was probably not that much older than Harpo. And was she closer in age with Harpo than she was to Mr.? Was she closer in mentality and emotional mentality, right? And so on one side, I was like, wow, I think they might have captured it. On the other side, how much does it shortchange Seely, where Seely had been living in as a domestic servant, essentially, in her own house. She had been assaulted by her stepfather. She gave birth twice and had lost the children that she thinks are dead. She was forced to grow up so early, became a stepmom, had to cook, clean, and take care of the children. I can also argue that could have been a very unfair depiction of Seely.
I agree. I think the deliberate choice to make her almost naive downplays the level of resistance and actually does an injustice to the level of resilience Seely had to have.
Yeah.
And makes her almost naive to her abuse instead of complicit in her own abuse. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, yes, she was emotionally restrained, and maybe that was the only way they could get it across on film. But it doesn't do justice to the Seely that had to endure so much shit.
Exactly. And speaking of other characters that have to endure so much shit, is you and I had talked about it that Sophia might be one of our all-time favorite characters in literature. And Oprah, which the entire time I was like, oh, that's Oprah? That's Oprah? Anyway, so Sophia, our other favorite character, is probably a very successful translation in the film. And I might be biased because, again, intense love for Oprah over here. However, even the way that she walks just screams Sophia, right? Her energy is Sophia. The defiance, the way she approaches life, the way she approaches people, men, women. There's also this fantastic solidarity that Sophia has with women, with her sisters, with the way that she feels betrayed by Seely. And the depiction, I feel like, nailed it. The scene after her imprisonment devastates me. It kills me.
Yeah.
It hurts every time. Additionally, what the movie is able to do is really show the detail of the time period. And even if you have a great imagination, even if you think that you're able to visualize it, the film does a great job of not sanitizing the conditions of Seely's life. There were some very hard scenes, especially the first night that she is with Mr. And, you know, you're not seeing the assault necessarily, but it's not good.
Yeah. There's enough that isn't sugar-coated.
Yeah.
That your mind fills in the blanks.
For me, when it comes to anything to do with kids or also in general sexual assault, I don't like when they go for it to show everything, just because I feel like sometimes it's done for the sake of sensationalism. But I'm sure there are some films that does it right. But for me, it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
I think it did a good job of not sensationalizing it and trying to show things just to get a shock out of you.
Yeah. You know, for some people, visual representation is also validation or permission.
Yep.
And so I'm glad that wasn't included.
Yeah. I mean, validation in the way of predators watching, not validation of a survivor feeling validated. Because then what if a survivor watches it and thinks like...
is triggered.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you for clarifying my point and reading my mind.
Yep.
So we've talked a little bit about where it diverges already, but there are more ways that I think are important for us to dive into. Now, where the film diverges from the novel is not random. Actually, if you look hard at it, there are patterns, and those patterns reveal the ideology underneath the content, especially in the 80s. Now, let's start with Seely and Shug's relationship. In the novel, their relationship is explicitly romantic and erotic. Shug is the first person to show Seely her own body, to give her pleasure, to teach her, you know, she has a right to physical joy. And that whole arc is important to Seely's liberation. The film alludes to it, but it is mostly removed. There's a near kiss on camera, and you see Seely really excited about it, but there's, you know, no follow through visually in the representation of their sexual relationship. And in a lot of ways, you have to beg the question, was there even a sexual relationship between the two in the film? while there's love between the two, it is desexualized. And I even said to Jack, I was like, oh, this is making me think that Shug is a replacement for Nettie and that Shug is just the sister Celie never got to have. But that's not the point of the book.
Mm-mm.
It's just how the film chose to interpret Shug's character. She's the sisterly figure, the mentor figure that Celie never got. And that's a conscious choice.
It is very frustrating what they did to Celie and Shug's relationship. Even their first kiss, which is the only kiss we see, but even their first kiss, Celie is giggling like a little girl. And it goes back to this like childish depiction. And is that the right choice or wrong choice? I couldn't tell you, but it's just a continuation of that choice of making her feel very young and girlish. Now, another thing is the fact that it is so brief. And for a movie that's so long, they just cruise over it. And their relationship is a good part of the book. Like, it's a long period of time. It is well documented. Many chapters have to, I mean, they're not even chapters, but like letters have to do with Shug. Shug is the one who teaches her about God, right? Or, you know, opening her mind about God. Shug's the one that teaches her about her body. Shug's the one that tells her, hey, that's not right to have Albert hit you. Shug's the one who helps her with find Nettie's letters and to give her strength through all of that. So then when Shug leaves, it's the first time that Celie has to start trying to do things on her own after finding a glimpse of who she is. And we don't even get to see any of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a perfect example of queer erasure.
Yep.
Right? Especially in the 80s, nobody wants to see a film about a queer romantic relationship. I'm saying that facetiously. The industry just does not want to invest in a queer romantic relationship. I mean, this is probably what the height of the AIDS epidemic with queer men. This is not something our society encourages. And quite frankly, Spielberg would have never had the funds to make the movie if it did.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to, we were like, white man. Now it's straight white man.
Yeah.
Every opposite you can do.
Yeah. I mean, quite frankly, Celie's erotic awakening, you can't separate that from the rest of her journey. The journey of her self-improvement, the journey of her self-defense, the journey of her becoming an independent woman.
Yeah.
Like, everything hinges on that erotic awakening because she kind of was just a shell of a person prior to that. And it's not because she's a sexual person, but it's just showing that that was a necessary part of her that she didn't have to let die because of her circumstances.
I think that for me, I'm going to say a statement and people may disagree with it and they may think that it doesn't have to do anything with this book. But I think that there is a direct correlation when it comes to redefining your relationship with God and religion and sexuality. It was not even a question in the book of whether this is morally wrong or right, you know, her being with Shug. It was more about the question of where is your sexual pleasure? Where is it? Why is that not there? It was not a question of like, oh, I hope no one knows about us, right? Like what we're doing is sinful, like, which is such a distinct choice for Walker to have made, especially in a book set in a time period where it is extra non-accepting, the fact that that was not the question or the conversation. So then you have to say, okay, well, if it's not about, you know, queer love being quote unquote sinful, well, then it's about finding identity. And again, saying from the start of this, it's sexual liberation. That is one of the big catalysts. Sexual liberation, the queer experience. And again, it's not questioning God in the sense of, does God think I'm good or bad because I'm queer? It's questioning God in the sense, does this white man represent what I believe God is and what is like, and who is looking out for me, right? Yeah. And I feel like there's like a distinct choice that Walker made in that line. And like you're saying, it's queer erasure.
Yeah.
It's religious queer relationship erasure.
Yep. Now let's move on to a topic Jack has slightly touched on, but is worth going into deeper. And it's what Black critics at the time called the aestheticization problem. Basically, making the story aesthetic. And what does that take away from the story? So one of the things that film was deeply criticized about was how it centered Black male violence against Black women and simultaneously minimized white structural racism and that context in which Black people were living, right? Because that does contribute to Black male violence. What do I mean? So the visual language of the film that Spielberg chooses, and he's known for lush cinematography, all the warm colors, warm light, the John Williams score. It makes life beautiful. It makes everything pastoral. And what it does is it makes oppression beautiful.
Yeah.
It makes suffering aesthetic, right? Which it's not.
No.
Like,
not unless you're a 2010 Tumblr, suffering is not pretty.
No. And while there's a lot of suffering in the home, and we get a little hint of it with Sophia, the overall sense of suffering in society, in Black society, is not there in the film.
Yeah.
Now, someone might argue, well, the novel itself also centers around Black male violence and minimizes white structural racism. Like Jack said, the book didn't need it for us to sense it.
At least the white racism.
Sorry, the white racism part. It's just the visual cues that you get from Spielberg's film is so different a narrative than Seeley's silence about it.
Yeah, I mean, even Walker, right, was talked about eventually that the presence of violence, right? The thing that Reed criticized, saying that it centered Black male violence against Black women, Walker later said, no, like the novel also centers it. Like the film didn't go and invent it. But that's such an interesting thought process because that's one of the earlier criticisms that we talked about in, I think, the first episode, that a lot of initial criticism, especially within the Black community, especially with the men within the Black community, talked about like saying, hey, you're focusing a lot on the violence, but then Walker was like, hey, this was the experience.
Right.
It is what it is. But to the overarching thing that we're trying to say here is that Spielberg is just making it pretty in some of the most horrifying scenes where Mr. is kicking out Nettie, and it's sad and it's tragic, but it's shot beautifully. You know what I mean? Like to me, it's focusing on a man trying to get an Oscar, an Academy Award, like that's what sometimes when you had some of these like really hard scenes, it was still visually done through someone who just really wants that nomination.
Award.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
A brief narrative pause. Stay with us.
When I moved in with my partner is when I realized how much effort she puts into her skincare. She spends so much time and money just on what she puts on her skin. But the one thing she doesn't invest in is our bedding.
Well, that's because you're now investing in it with Boll and Branch.
From their organic cotton sheets to their breathable pillows and comforters, Boll and Branch makes their bedding with ultra clean materials that are gentle on the skin and free from harsh chemicals.
Boll and Branch really feels like my first grown-up sheets. And you can really feel the difference with their signature sheet sets. Remember, these sheets are touching you for up to 8 hours every single night. You're going to want to have the best sheets possible. Have you noticed that the pockets of the fitted sheets are perfect for forming around the mattress?
This is the first set of sheets that I haven't had to help my partner put them on the bed because the pockets are too small. They are so easy to get on the bed.
These are honestly the first pair of sheets that I have that I don't wake up with my sheets halfway wrapped around me. They are durable, they are soft, and the longer you use them, the softer they become.
Upgrade your sleep with Boll and Branch. Get 15% off your first order plus free shipping at bollandbranch.com/booktalk with code BookTalk, BookTalk.
That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com/BookTalk, and use code BookTalk to unlock 15% off. Exclusions apply. Lastly, while we're still in this film discussion, we kind of want to go back to what's getting compressed in the movie adaptation. And like Amy said, Nettie's Africa arc is so compressed in the movie, and it's just so substantial in the novel. It becomes abbreviated in the film. Nettie's point of view and Nettie's letters are the only other source of information and is the only other voice in the novel, and it completely suppresses that voice. It watches, like when I watched the film, it felt like I was watching someone trying to hit a point, like, oh, or a beat, like, oh, this happened, so I guess I have to make it happen here. It doesn't have the same purpose and meaning the way that it does. Again, because they got rid of Celie's letters, of her changing her letters from to God to Nettie, then Nettie's own letters aren't as important.
Yep.
Another aspect is Celie's pants business.
I was so upset with how this one was handled.
They got rid of that. I mean, they barely mentioned it, right? All of Celie's growth gets so compressed. Like, she goes from childish to angry, and then suddenly, you know, she's a woman with her own home and business.
In like the last 30 minutes, if even that.
Yeah, it's not an actual conversation around labor and ownership and self-determination that Walker spends her time on with Celie. It becomes a much more compressed, and then this is what happens.
Yeah.
And then also Mister's transformation. I am so conflicted on this. It's compressed, it's rushed. In the novel, it's lengthy, and, you know, again, it's earned. I feel like Walker does a great job. And I would argue that the film doesn't redeem him the way that the novel does. And redeem is a very loose term that I'm going to use here.
Right.
The novel goes into his arc and where he ends up. And again, I'm coming back to that visual of just him and Celie on the porch just talking. And the film doesn't go there. Watching a grown-ass man beat a child and sexually assault her, it makes it really hard for me to go back and be like, okay, remember what Walker did? Remember what Walker did in the book?
Yeah, because in a nutshell, Mr. gets sad and lonely and then is absolved because he uses his money to help get Nettie and the children from Africa back home, right? And it's not even said explicitly, it's all inferred through visuals. And it makes him so absolved at the end. And it makes it also come across as Suge being attracted to that. Did you notice that? Of like, because Suge's the one who notices.
Well, he's also off in the distance because then it makes him seem like a martyr too, right? Like, I'm going to do this all on my own and I don't need the credit. I'm just going to be watching from the corner.
Right. Instead of, you know, Mr. is not absolved really, but what it is he's learning that he made mistakes and he's learning how to talk to Celie, and Celie's learning how to listen to him despite what has occurred between them. And that is, like, to me, representation of like healthy adaptation, like healthy learning how to navigate the ugly history between the two of them and how bittersweet that is. And none of that's there in the movie.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, Celie's conversation with Mr. and the reason why I'm able to go along with it and be like, I trust you, Walker, is that it has everything to do with Celie's own healing journey. Yeah. And it's not about Mr.'s healing journey. We see him on his journey. We see his arc growing and you see him growing as a person. But when we walk away from that conversation, I walk away of saying, well, this is what Celie needed, not necessarily what Mr. needed. And again, it just did not get that in the movie. Let's talk about the musical. So here is what we are going to say and something that we want you to sit with. The musical is formally closer to Alice Walker's novel than Steven Spielberg's film. What, Jack? But there's music and singing and choreography. How can that happen? It's not because it's more faithful to the plot. It really isn't. It actually follows the movie very closely rather than the book.
Both plot and visuals.
Yeah.
I was very annoyed.
Yeah. But the musical as a form allows something that the film couldn't do, and that's the direct address. A character turns to the audience and sings what she can't say in the world, and we're able to hear her thoughts. And that is structurally exactly what Celie does when she writes the letters to God. The term we're going to look at is direct address / apostrophe. And I don't mean apostrophe.
this visual grammatical symbol. We mean the actual word apostrophe.
So, a theatrical and literary technique in which a character speaks directly to the audience, to an absent person, or to an abstraction, and that is them breaking the fourth wall. Seeley's letters to God are a literary apostrophe. Her musical songs are theatrical direct address. Both gives the audience the privileged access to the consciousness of the character that the other characters cannot hear. So what does the musical restore? The queer relationship between Seeley and Shug is more present. Again, just because you get one song doesn't make it more present. I mean, it makes it more present than the film. Does it do it justice? But the song What About Love makes the romantic and erotic dimensions explicit and more central because, again, they get a song. And the musical doesn't fully look away from their relationship. It does a lot more than the film. Does it do enough? Arguably, no. Seeley's interiority is externalized through the song in a way a film voiceover can never quite achieve. When she sings, she's speaking directly to us the way her letter speaks to God. The form honors the novel's first argument. It's like this is something that Seeley can't say to other people. This is something that only Seeley can say to God. The song I'm Here, Seeley's Act 2 anthem, is probably one of the most successful single moment translation of the novel's emotional arc. It is the quote, I'm poor, I'm black, I may be ugly and can't cook, but I'm here. Given music a stage and a spotlight, it becomes something that the novel is building towards in words, but when you have like full orchestra and everything going on, you're just sort of like, oh my God, yes, sing it, right? And also, Sophia's arc is fully rendered in Hell No, which captures the novel's Sophia with precision. It really does a fantastic job with it. I was thinking about it just now as I was saying words, but why the musical can't succeed until it fully breaks away from the film is because the film was created by a straight white man. And until the musical can fully break away from that, I don't know if it can succeed in the way that it deserves to succeed.
I completely agree. And this is something I said to Jack yesterday while we were watching it, and why I was so annoyed that the film relies so heavily on the visual cues from the movie. It's relying on people's knowledge and understanding of the movie rather than their knowledge and understanding of the book. It's assuming in many ways, that being the novel, it's assuming that people have not read the book. It's assuming people have only watched the movie. And so it only can do fractionally better than the movie in terms of Seeley and Shug's relationship and other things in terms of Seeley's interiority. That doesn't make it a good adaptation.
Because at the end of the day, it's catering to a white straight man and his vision and not Alice Walker's vision, which is ultimately going to be about a queer black woman during Jim Crow in the South, right? And it is catering to one visual, not the actual meaning and story.
Another thing that is dawning on me, Sophia, love Sophia as a character. Her story arc, heartbreaking. One of the best story arcs of the novel. One of the best story arcs of the film. One of the best story arcs of the musical. It's also the only story arc that relies on whiteness to be present. So of course they're going to get it right.
Because they're able to include themselves in the story.
We're talking about like Spielberg or whomever is like
the producers, whoever greenlit that.
The spirit of Sophia does not require whiteness, but the breaking down of Sophia does. And the emotional weight of that requires white society to intervene in her life. And that pisses me off.
I agree. I think you made a great fucking point. Another point you made yesterday, I'm going to just bring up now, is the fact that Mary Agnes was completely erased.
This black woman reclaiming her name. she gets to say it, but it has no emotional weight when she says it in the movie. No one gives a shit.
No one cares that she goes and lives her own life and she reclaims her name, or the fact that her and Sophia had a rough start, but then she goes and tries to get Sophia out of jail and gets sexually assaulted in the process and continues to pursue her dreams and becomes a singer.
And raises Sophia's children while Sophia's in jail. And then Sophia raises Mary Agnes's child while Mary Agnes is going off and singing. Like, there's beauty in that.
Sophia's story is so, and I said it a little bit earlier, but it's so centered around female community, the community amongst women, between her sisters, between Mary Agnes. Sophia, what I love about her is she shows the strength of women and what happens when women come together and to support other women. And part of that journey is through Mary Agnes, and we just get rid of it, right? We see Sophia in the book be able to have a life again after jail, after all of this horrible traumatic everything that has happened to her. And we see her in the novel be able to go through it, right? And come out on the other side and to pick up the pieces and to continue living. And she does that through community with women with Mary Agnes. By getting rid of Mary Agnes, we are getting rid of evidence of Sophia's strength and the way that she carries on after jail. And so once again, what they're able to do right is the fall and the pain of Sophia, because it's centered around whiteness. But what do? They get rid of a black woman, or they minimize her character and her story. Ironically, her whole story is about getting her name back, and it stings.
The irony cuts so deep.
Yeah.
It makes me sick, actually.
Yeah.
It makes me so unhappy.
Talk about a book that deserves a remake. And
deserves a 6-hour miniseries.
I know, right? And it doesn't even have to be like I don't want it to be like as close of an adaptation as possible. Like, it doesn't need to be that, but it needs to be the Black experience by the right community, by the Black queer community.
Yep.
And it deserves that. It really does.
Yeah, and that's not what it got. And what it got, and what the musical does, and quite frankly, the film did too, which I'll try to tie in, is the fact that it tried to take a really heavy, depressing book that is so uplifting at the end.
Yeah.
And tried to make it palatable for anybody. And by doing that, it incorporates comedy, especially in the musical, right? Musicals, they have to balance the pain. Like, even Les Mis does it. Like, there's comedy to balance the darkness or the emotional depth of what's going on. And we see that a lot in Harpo and his juke joint. When writing musical theater, it does need constant tonal variation to keep an audience engaged. I get it. But the depth of the novel gets lost in that. And it does it in the film too. And I didn't comment about this, but the juke joint fight scene played out like a fight scene in Indiana Jones.
Yeah, it did. It really did.
It really did. And then I think what pissed me off, I didn't talk about it when we were watching it, but when Miss Millie is being taught how to drive and they go to the grocery store, they get back in the grocery store, all the white people are around them watching. And then you get like a panned out shot of Millie starting the car and starting to drive, and all the white people dive away to other parts of the street. It's such like a 80s film thing where it to be like, oh no, the woman's driving, get out of the way, she's gonna hit stuff. It takes away from Sophia's story in that moment.
Because
it makes it about the white woman.
Yeah, we're laughing at like, this silly white woman can't drive and everyone's trying to get away from her.
Yeah.
What are we doing? We're minimizing the Black woman's suffering.
Yep.
And even Harpo, as like, there were some funny moments. We laughed. I love seeing like this guy just really wants to love Sophia, right? And, you just want these two crazy kids to work it out. But Harpo is so important because he shows that men are victims of the patriarchy too. He had a woman that he loved, that he wanted to be there for her, that challenged him, who loved him, and he learned from his father that he needs to beat her. And through that, he lost Sophia and what could have been a really wonderful life. And, he doesn't play the biggest role in the book, and he shouldn't because it's not about men. But the role that he does play is important to show that men are also victims of the patriarchy, and we just kind of breeze past it, and when we kind of make him funny and just focus on that, it gets rid of the meaning behind his character.
Yeah, and it puts so much of the blame of Harpo beating Sophia on Seeley.
Yeah.
And while Seeley had a hand in it, it's mostly Harpo's upbringing with Mister.
Yeah, Harpo chooses to keep beating Sophia.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I mean, one time is too many times. It should never happen. But he keeps going back to it.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, the music was fan-fucking-tastic. That was...
Yeah. I'm really glad they stuck in the tradition of Black American music.
Yeah, with gospel, R&B, jazz.
And very railroad blues, but I don't think that's actually what it's called. But it is a type of, like, American folk, you could say.
So a lot of slave songs, right, comes from Africa, right? But then it also then grew to be songs that was rhythmically done in a way that correlated with the physical labor they were forced to do. Sometimes it'd also have to do with, like, you know, hints on, like, Underground Railroad, but that type of music had a direct correlation on what would then become blues, and then jazz, and then R&B, and then hip-hop, and eventually every other song music genre taking from it. Looking at you, Elvis. But it's very important music because it is such a interesting, I think, bridge between songs that were still from slavery songs. Again, I can't remember the word for it. And blues and what would later become other, you know, mainstream music. And it was such an interesting moment and bridge that they did quite a bit in the musical. And which is why when the music evolved into R&B, into gospel, into jazz, it makes sense because it all culminated from this original type of music.
Yeah. Jack and I did not actually see the musical on a stage. We watched the musical through the 2023 film, which you can watch on a streaming service near you. Now, it was produced by Oprah Winfrey and Steven Spielberg. I think that's one reason why it takes, you know, there are a lot of visual cues in, you know, the film musical that correlate to the original film. It's because the same people are involved.
So let's talk about some side-by-sides. And we've been talking about a lot of different moments, but let's really focus on these 5 key moments. The first one being the opening. In the novel, it is the command to silence. Quote, "You better not never tell nobody but God. We begin inside suppression, reading what we were told could not be read." In the film, in the beautiful Georgia countryside, green fields, golden light, because, you know, Steven Spielberg is like, I'm going to make it pretty. Young Seeley and Nettie are playing in the flowers. It's beautiful, but it's also extremely at odds with the opening lines of the novel. When I first read the beginning, like, first page of the novel, I was like, I need to buckle up. Yeah, I was like, okay, so we're going straight into this. And in some ways you can say that the film almost does it, and, like, you see Seeley pregnant, which is visually, you know, kind of daunting, but the novel starts with Seeley having already lost the kids. So again, it's directly at odds. And the musical is an ensemble number because it's a musical. Of course it is.
Right.
And community is established through collective sound before Seeley's isolation is introduced. So between the novel to the film to the musical, we are getting farther and farther away from the truth, which is the fact that Seeley is extremely isolated and the only person she has is Nettie. And even then in the novel, she knows that she can't completely rely on Nettie because she can't risk Nettie of knowing too much, of trying to interfere. She's trying to protect her sister.
And these 3 different openings paint different stories at the end of the day. It sends a different message to the viewer reader based on how it opens. Like, the fact that the musical opens like a traditional musical takes away from isolation. It doesn't even allow room for Seeley to be isolated. The film makes beautiful what is not beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, life can be beautiful. Don't worry about it. Never mind that you're pregnant by your stepdad.
Who you think is your
No.
biological father.
Exactly.
It's like they heard someone say, yeah, this book is beautiful. And then they go, yeah, I'm going to make it pretty. And it's like, no, that's
No,
not the
that was
beauty we were
not-
talking about.
Yep,
It's
not
a
at all.
different beauty. We've already talked about the second moment, and that is Celie and Shug's relationship, but it is so important for us to really hammer in because the novel, Shug and Celie's relationship, is explicitly romantic and erotic. She talks about her buttons. Like,
Yeah.
when I read it, I was shocked. I was like, oh my goodness, from the 80s? Like, this is what we're getting?
Mm-hmm.
Celie experiences pleasure for the first time, and it is central to her liberational arc. It's not incidental. It's what kicks it off.
Yeah. Then the film does the queer erasure that we talked about. Everything is desexualized and suppressed because that was the 80s. Now, the musical and the 2023 film adaptation of the musical were in a space where they could allow more presence of that queer relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we see is that the timing of the production influences what can be told. But quite frankly, it still doesn't do it justice because were there queer people even involved in the process of developing this? And I don't know, maybe there was, but to me, it doesn't do justice to what the novel did.
No. I mean, even when it comes to like the musical and the fact that we get the 2023 version and it's over 40 years later, right? It's frustrating because on one hand, you might be like, oh, musical theater, it's very queer.
Mm-hmm.
The actors, the singers, the stories, it's very
safe
queer.
Space.
It's a safe space.
Yeah.
But does it do it justice? Because this is an ongoing discussion that I'm going to say something that will not have an answer, but is meant for you to think about. When we think about queer spaces, predominantly the go-to thought are gay spaces, not lesbian spaces. And lesbian literature, lesbian movies, lesbian music is nowhere nearly as represented as the gay experiences. I think about other queer musicals, Rocky Horror Picture Show. That was in the 70s. And like you can't say that it wasn't done. You know what I mean? But the difference is it's two women. And that is something that I would argue that even a queer safe space that is Broadway still shies away from the sapphic romance that is in this story and in many other stories.
Yep.
I know that hurt.
That's
hurting.
About that.
You're going to sit with that one.
Yeah, because that's any industry. Any industry, the sapphic story is the last one to be told.
Well,
and then it will be white sapphic before it's any other sapphic, right?
Yeah. So you have that extra layer of nowhere near representative of the Black sapphic experience. Like, no, it's not going to get the time and energy it deserves. And even with the song, What About Love? The musical, you can't say, here's a song, there we go, we did it.
Yeah.
That's not enough for me.
Yeah, I agree.
That's not it. It just also makes me think, Amy and I we're going to keep going, but real fast. We went to go see Muna last night, and a big group of gay men pushed past us to get like better standing view. And I just was like, you just pushed past
a lot of queer women.
A lot of queer women that these men push past. And it's like, this is granted a queer band. However, lesbian first, some might argue.
Yeah. In the hierarchy of who should have a good view should be the queer women first, please.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about the hierarchy in this, and I accept that I was last in the hierarchy. The only person I'm above is a white straight man in that area.
Yeah. Stay with us. We're not done yelling yet.
Amy, we were just in New York for BookCon, and did you notice that all of the New York girlies were wearing quints?
You're so right. They were stylish, street appropriate, but also business casual.
It's amazing how I was spotting some of Quince's staple pieces on the street. I can always spot one of their Mongolian cashmeres from a mile away because it's always so soft and so nice. Quince really spends time on making sure they give you the best quality clothing they can with premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra soft denim.
Their styles make getting dressed simpler. They make me feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together with tops that start at just $30. You can't beat that for work.
Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup.
Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too.
That's QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/booktalk.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Now, in the next segment, let's just talk about some key moments and some side-by-sides between the novel, the movie, and the musical.
So another moment that we want to look at is Celie confronting Mister. And you and I had a lot to say about this in the moment when we were watching the film. So as a refresher, in the novel, Celie confronting Mister culminates over the tension of several letters where she's discovering he's been keeping Nettie's letters from me, and her private rage is spilling forth on the page for us as the reader. And then we learn of her consequences of that after the fact, right? And she tells Mr. quote, "Until you do right by me, everything you even dream about will fail." It's terrifying. It's triumphant. We learn about it after the fact. In the film, it's the climax of the film.
Yeah.
It's dramatic. It's at the dining table after like lively shouting at each other. The camera moves. The music is building up. Celie grabs a knife and threatens Mister with it. That is not how the rage plays out in Celie's letters.
Mm-mm.
It's not about threatening violence to someone who's threatened violence. That's not what it is. And it becomes a spectacle. Celie comes across justified, but as a bad guy still as well.
And then when you go into the musical, it really invites the audience to feel triumphant with Celie, and we're all there with her going, yeah, because like, what a great line, right? Until you do right by me, everything you even dream about will fail. Like, talk about, like, that sounds like a curse, and it sounds like a good one to me.
Yeah.
But what it does is remove some of the terror that the novel holds next to the triumph. Yeah. It is a triumphant moment, but it is a terrifying moment. This is a man who has continuously beat her, assaulted her, and she is fighting back. And that does not come without natural fear in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the musical is just like, we're there rallying with her, but it doesn't get that in, all of the complicated emotions.
Right.
And then probably, sadly, I think one of the biggest things that both the musical and the movie, they don't nail the way that the book does, is the reunion at the very end. In the book, I was sobbing. I was losing it. And the reason why it's so beautiful, I believe, is because it's understated. It's kind of quiet. It doesn't even need to say too much in order for us to be so overwhelmed. And the joy is enormous, but it doesn't come with any fanfare. The last line is, quote, I think us here. And that simplicity, that understatedness, it is almost the perfect reaction in a way where you're so overwhelmed you don't even know what you're going to say, but you do know what matters, and that is the love that they share. I mean, I cried for the movie too, don't get me wrong, guys, but the film has the full Hollywood treatment. John Williams has his music swelling, the camera rises, the green fields return, and critics in the past have called it manipulative. But again, I am someone who will cry, and I cried. You and I were both crying. We were both like...
We did cry. We
tearing.
did cry, but I was bothered by it because it changes the narrative around Nettie and Adam and Olivia, right? Because I don't know if you noticed.
They couldn't speak English.
Yeah, right. And it takes away the complexity of their storyline in Africa and how that correlates to America. So that bothered me. There's a lot of visual cues back to the very beginning of Nettie and Celie playing their hand clapping game, singing of the fields of the sunset. It was joyous. I cried, but we don't really get the weight of it and what it really means for them to be reunited. There isn't even a threat of them being dead, which we got in the
I know, right?
novel.
God, when that was like, they might be dead, I was like, don't do it to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, we haven't even talked about the fact that Nettie helped raise Celie's children, that Nettie is now the stepmother to Celie's children, that Nettie was able to give her kids the love that they deserve and be there for them in a way that Celie was unable to be. The way that Nettie had to go through her own journey of being accused of lying, that those actually are her kids, and then finding love when she thought she would never find love, and knowing that these children who she helped be a part of their lives, who she is their stepmother and loves them, her mission, her journey is to reunite them with their actual mother or biological mother. You know, it is that alone is so emotional, right? To think about just Nettie's journey alone and what it took for her to get her kids / her sister's kids, because they are just as much hers kids at this point, back to her sister and be reunited with her sister. And we don't get any of it. Instead, we get Adam, who can't speak to his mother. And I don't remember that in the book, where I was like, he spoke English in the book.
Well, yeah. And here's the other thing. The kids, Adam and Olivia, were raised as Christians and hated the culture of Tashi and her people because they saw it as barbaric, because they had been conditioned to think like white people.
And meanwhile, Celie has gone and like overthrown the white patriarchy in her mind, and like now they're gonna be... I don't need the part 2. I don't need a sequel. I don't want to know how that plays out. In my head, everything is peaceful, wonderful. But it is the movie, the musical just does it so dirty, unfortunately. When Celie's letters to Nettie is the thing that has her holding on and growing.
Yeah. So one last moment is the idea of the color purple, you know, the whole premise upon which the novel is based. If you read the opening to this novel by Alice Walker, she talks about how the whole point of the book was her relationship with God and nature, and Celie's journey to having that relationship with, or identifying what is God, what is God's presence in my life, essentially. It's a spiritual journey as much as it's a journey of liberation. And the color purple sums up the whole concept, right? You know God exists because the way that color purple appears in nature. Like, how can you believe there is no God?
Yeah.
And...
and God would get mad if you don't stop to appreciate the color.
Right. God is not this white man in the sky, like the Bible tells us. God is in everything around us, and we should stop to appreciate it and the force and beauty of that. Now, that happens kind of mid-book in conversation between Shug and Celie. It doesn't get mentioned till almost the end of the novel, while Celie and Shug are walking in the same flower field that the movie started in. And then it kind of gets mentioned in the middle of the musical. But in the novel, it's such a foundational, like, thought process that changes the way Celie views the world. And it's brought up multiple times. Yeah. And it's, in both the musical and the film, it's such a throwaway line.
I know.
And I just wanted to call that out because there's a reason all these things are called the color purple. The title is the color purple for a reason. And it feels secondary, not even secondary, tertiary in the film and in the musical.
Yeah. I mean, to have Celie, a survivor of every horrific thing, to be able to appreciate the color purple because God is within nature, God is within you, you know, do you want to call it God? Do you want to call it energy, creation, whatever it is? But
the universe, freedom, right? And, you know, very rarely am I a fan when the book uses the words that it's like titled, but it has never been more accurate or a better depiction of what sums up this book. The morals, not just the morals, but like the feeling, the intention of it. And it sums it up so perfectly with the color purple and what it means. And to just be like, wow, and now Celie and Nettie are reunited and they're both wearing the color purple. Yeah. Yeah. It just doesn't do it justice.
No, I'm happy you called that out because there's a lot of things that it doesn't do it justice. And I think that if anyone listened to our Wuthering Heights episode and when we talked about movies and media for Wuthering Heights and talked about adaptations, and it's like, look, adaptations aren't going to get it right. And that is okay. But you have to ask yourself, what is the point? What is the message? What is it that the author's trying to achieve? And can you do right by that? And when you have a book that is so important like this, I think this is an interesting contrast if you go back and listen to our Pride and Prejudice one, which is like nowhere near has the same amount of like narrative importance of what it's trying to say as this does, which is why the adaptations can get away with it, right?
Yeah.
Like Pride and Prejudice was able to pick and choose of like, what is it that they want to tell? You don't get to pick and choose with this.
No, this story is too important for you to be able to pare down the meaning of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ryan Coogler, actually, let's make it a Black female director.
Yeah.
And screenwriter needs to write this and do a miniseries and do it actual justice. Because it has not been done.
And justice means hitting the parts, like the messages, the themes, right? It doesn't mean you get every episode starting with Dear God. Although I wouldn't say no to that, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Let's just kind of wrap it up a little bit.
If you haven't read The Color Purple, but you've watched the film or the musical, I need you to know that you're missing out. Yeah. I really, really encourage you to go read the novel or listen to the audio. Listen to the audio. Alice Walker does a fantastic job narrating her book. And if you've read the book but never watched the film, I don't really think you need to. Whoopi Goldberg did her best. Oprah did a good job too. I don't think we need to give Steven Spielberg any more of our money.
Agreed.
So I don't think you need to watch it.
No, I agree. It is a book that is worth reading in every regard. It's worth reading not just in the messaging, in the themes, and the importance of people, of women, of queer women, and getting their story told. It's important because Alice Walker masters the craft. Alice Walker writes a book that's different, writes a book that's not the quote-unquote traditional book, that challenges what's the concept of literature, even in a level of what foundationally makes a good book through, a very critical craft type lens. It kills it. It absolutely succeeds. It nails it. It revolutionizes the concept of a novel. And so in every regard, this book is so worth reading. And 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Plan to read again. I think you and I said before that this is one of those books I will read once a decade and let like the different versions of me take it in,
Yeah. All right.
Thank
you for listening to this episode of Academia Unlocked with Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps other readers find us. And of course, we'd love to hear what you thought of today's episode. Share your comments through our form at booktalkforbooktalk.com, and we might feature your feedback in a future mini episode or in a Patreon exclusive episode.
For merch and more ways to support the show, head to booktalkforbooktalk.com. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at the handle Book Talk for Book Talk. And don't forget to join us by subscribing to the Subtext Society Journal.substack.com to get more insights into the romantasy and romance world.
Bye. Struggling to find the right metabolic wellness support, even when you're doing everything right, has been one of the most frustrating things for me in my health journey.
I've tried other metabolic wellness support providers, and I often feel rejected rather than supported by the process.
That's because Brello is focused on long-term health, longevity, and performance, not quick fixes.
Brello is designed for people who want a more sustainable approach to their metabolic wellness support. Their support helps you focus on habits, education, and structure alongside provider oversight.
Getting my GLP-1 through Brello has been so easy. They make it so effortless, and they provide all the support I need through their app.
Their app is one of a kind in my book because it allows you to track progress, manage reminders, and stay on top of renewals. And if you're like me, managing the renewals is the hardest part.
Everything is managed online, making it easier to stay consistent over time, and medications are delivered to your door. They're so transparent with their pricing with one flat monthly cost. Go to BrelloHealth.com to see if you qualify and explore their GLP-1 plans, starting at $133 per month for your first 3 months, plus access to their app, community, and wellness classes. That's BRELLO health.com.
Any information provided is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical consultation, diagnosis, or treatment. All patients must consult with a healthcare provider prior to the prescription or dispensing of any medication, which will be done only pursuant to a valid prescription. Compounded drug products are not FDA approved, and the FDA does not evaluate their safety, effectiveness, or quality. Patients are encouraged to discuss the risks, benefits, and appropriateness of any medications, including compounded products, with their healthcare provider before use. When I moved in with my partner is when I realized how much effort she puts into her skincare. She spends so much time and money just on what she puts on her skin. But the one thing she doesn't invest in is our bedding.
Well, that's because you're now investing in it with Boll and Branch.
From their organic cotton sheets to their breathable pillows and comforters, Boll and Branch makes their bedding with ultra clean materials that are gentle on the skin and free from harsh chemicals.
Boll and Branch really feels like my first grown-up sheets. And you can really feel the difference with their signature sheet sets. Remember, these sheets are touching you for up to 8 hours every single night. You're going to want to have the best sheets possible. Have you noticed that the pockets of the fitted sheets are perfect for forming around the mattress?
This is the first set of sheets that I haven't had to help my partner put them on the bed because the pockets are too small. They are so easy to get on the bed.
These are honestly the first pair of sheets that I have that I don't wake up with my sheets halfway wrapped around me. They are durable, they are soft, and the longer you use them, the softer they become.
Upgrade your sleep with Boll and Branch. Get 15% off your first order plus free shipping at bollandbranch.com/BookTok with code BookTalk, BookTalk.
That's Boll and Branch, BOLLAND, branch.com/BookTalk, and use code BookTalk to unlock 15% off. Exclusions apply. Amy, we were just in New York for BookCon, and did you notice that all of the New York girlies were wearing Quince?
You're so right. They were stylish, street appropriate, but also business casual.
It's amazing how I was spotting some of Quince's staple pieces on the street. I can always spot one of their Mongolian cashmeres from a mile away because it's always so soft and so nice. Quince really spends time on making sure they give you the best quality clothing they can with premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra soft denim.
Their styles make getting dressed simpler. They make me feel effortless, comfortable, and still put together with tops that start at just $30. You can't beat that for work.
Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality and craftsmanship, not brand markup.
Refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/BookTalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too.
That's QUINCE.com/BookTalk, BookTalk. for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/BookTok.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove. Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.